This is the most difficult show I've seen in ages. The tempos, the breadth of the book, the spreads, you name it, the amount of notes they're playing. There's just so much to this show.
Music is an emotional art form, and if you can't relate to it on an emotional level, on some kind of fundamental level, I think, then there's something wrong with that.
You got to jump off the pier a little bit and try something you're not sure if it's going to work. You're not sure if the audience is going to be sold on this or if they, fully are going to understand that. And that's our job as designers, to make sure that that happens.
I think that's what makes drum corps what it is. It's different than anything else. Every day brings new challenges, but that's what makes the performance what it is.
The history of the Santa Clara Vanguard and their approach to rehearsal etiquette, I think, is a very big deal. I think that's a sense of pride. And there's a certain personality that this corps exhibits like no other, and I find that very attractive as a teacher.
I want to have a certain amount of musical enrichment, if you will, for the students that come through here, rather than just, beating a drum corps show into them.
We do things that no one else will try to do. We do things that no one else can do. And just they may have their unique piece of the puzzle. I think ours is we take the most risks.
The nature of this activity is such that it's so crazy what we do that you have to get along or you're not going to survive it. You have to make it fun or there's no way.
Full speed ahead. If I had to sum it up in one sentence, I would say that this show right now is full speed ahead.
Santa Clara is one of those groups where you can walk into a rehearsal on a hot summer day anywhere in the country, watching the corps rehearse just in street clothes, jeans, t-shirts, shorts, and you would know who they are. You can just feel it in the way they conduct themselves, the way they carry themselves, and just the emotional commitment and just discipline with what they do.
Basically, we're marching 40, and there's 30 people at spots. So there's 10 spots that 40 people are trying to hit.
This year we definitely and deliberately went about the idea of choosing a visual concept first and finding the music that would fit that idea. Everybody sort of zeroed in on this concept that we call pathways, which is coincidentally also it's the title of our program this year.
Pathways emotionally, pathways physical, and also dealing with variations in where a path might lead.
We're trying to create visually a labyrinth on the field, a maze, if you will. And we're trying to explore every conceivable way, visually speaking, to create that look of just motion and movement in a maze-like effect, like a labyrinth. That's something that creates that concept of people following through, resulting in some kind of resolution, conclusion of some kind.
I think this year's music is very exciting. It opens itself up to a lot of visual possibilities with the drill and the color guard.
It's new, it's so hard to create something year after year and say, okay, what are we going to do differently with it? But it also takes the desire or the comfort in saying, I want to take a risk with that. And it feels like it's risk taking, and that's good. And those are the things that really, I think, at the end make a group stand out.
For example, there's one section that's very minimalistic in nature, and what that means is there's a pattern of music that starts with minor variations all over the place that creep up, but that pattern is always there. Patterns are pretty dangerous because after a while they can tend to atrophy if you're not really focused on what's going on musically. And those variations have to be original, have to be true to the original pattern established. So if we go from eighth notes to sixteenths to triplets and things like that, we still have to be true to the style.
Because the beginning of the show right now, they're spread out. They break apart into small groupings, and the groupings then are basically adding through time, you know, until we have our final flag statement at the end of the opening introduction. And it'd certainly be a challenge to get it all together and see how all the parts relate.
Our opener is 3 minutes long. It's at 190. It was originally supposed to be at 200, but we kind of took another look at that and said, you know, we'd like most of our members to be alive at the end of it. So we bumped that down 10 beats a minute, and that's not a slow tempo even there, you know, 190.
But right away from the opening set, it's a 100-yard spread. And what we've decided to do is divide the horn line and the drum line into two separate drum corps. So what happens is the stage right side, or the number one side, as you view the field, if you're in the stands looking, it's going to be your left-hand side. That particular group starts the show on their own, while the other side, 100 yards away, basically is stationary. So the number one side opens visually, opens musically, and it's basically almost like a tennis match. They engage for about the first 32 counts or so, and then this side, 100 yards away, enters. And it's just like the left to the right thing, the stereophonic effect that we're creating, I think is quite new.
So how many drink breaks do you get a day?
Not enough. This is the first run of our full show.
All of us are very excited. The kids are very excited about the musical selections that we've picked.
I like to think of myself as a music history buff, and I have not heard of this music or this composer before.
The music that we ended up coming up with was largely based on minimalism, and Murray actually initially introduced me to this piece called Orawa last year. It's a piece for 15 string instruments by a Polish composer named Wojciech Kilar.
He's a very contemporary composer, and he does a lot of soundtrack work as well.
Keeler's music is so off the beaten path that no one knows it, or it's just very contemporary. I don't even know the dates of the composer.
It's just a great piece of music, and you know, I remember listening to it in Murray's van last year, just because it was cool music, and we like to listen to good music. That's what I like most about this staff. That's you know what we spend a lot of time doing.
We've got some music by the great LA jazz and film composer Jeff Beal, which is really creative. He did some great work on the movie Pollock, and so we're taking from that a little bit. And then from Richard Danielpour, who's a contemporary wind ensemble composer for the third production of the show. So we're not using 100 different composers. We've only got 3, and so we get some good mileage out of that. We've got one composer that's bookending our show.
That's oftentimes the challenge, is finding good music that will sound like good music when you put it on a football field with just brass and drums and no other treatments electronically or with woodwinds or anything like that. And it becomes increasingly difficult from year to year to find fresh stuff that people haven't heard.
Because the kids, if they can relate to the music right off the bat, and this music is very aesthetically appealing, then they're going to transfer that to the audience.
We're all excited about the show. Every time I hear them play the closer, I can't contain myself. It's so exciting, and the whole show is just amazing. We're all just can't contain ourselves.
It's hard work, but it's well worth it so far. I'm loving every minute of it. Like, we did the run through last night for the first time, and like when we were done, I just wanted to keep going. I just wanted to it was so much fun. It was just such an adrenaline rush.
I love this show. I'm so excited to age out on this show. It's definitely my favorite so far.
I'm Key Poland, and I'm the brass arranger for the Santa Clara Vanguard for 2003.
And Key Poland was amazing. I mean, the guy spit out the entire horn book in like a month or something like that.
Yeah, the composers that we're using this year I had never heard of before.
And he was very busy at the time as well, so I'm not sure what he eats for breakfast.
Understanding the concept, sitting down and just locking himself in his room and making this thing happen and coming in December and going, boom, here. And we're all like, okay, this works for me.
First of all, Key is a madman, and he had the show written before the beginning of January. I remember he had the whole show done in December.
When he started doing what he was doing, everybody else kind of went to attention and went, oh, this guy's serious, we're in good shape, you know, everybody's feeling really good about that.
That's just a great way to get to learn about other people's music, especially when you're sitting in a room of 6 to 10 people listening to a work that you've never heard before and really analyzing it, not just from a musical composition standpoint, but how does it make you feel?
If I could work on Key's schedule, I could move on to other things. I'd be done with the show right now.
We could have let's have the euphoniums do E flat and F, and then let's have the mellophone play a D, and then.
Those 4 people, you mean?
Yeah.
They're playing it?
Yeah.
Muted people that are playing the last portion of that muted part,
right?
the 4 people, would you come up here, please?
Okay, but you've got a C right on the end.
Yeah. We're going to give you different notes.
You're going to do a D, an F, and an E flat. Okay? Can we hear that real quick?
E flat and F.
Yeah.
Right down in the staff.
Yeah. E
as
flat.
Your very
F,
last note.
D, 4th line, and your C. Ready? 1, 2. Yeah, just regular C.
What you were playing.
Yeah.
When we make the decision in October to do Orawa by Wojciech Kilar, immediately it's like, we need to get the rights. Well, he lives in Poland, and we had to figure out how in the world to get the rights.
This was unusual. Usually we get copyright clearance from the publisher. You know, sometimes we have to pay them, sometimes we don't, but generally they have to say, yes, it's okay for you to arrange this piece before we can actually go out and perform it.
Well, we ended up having to call AT&T and have them get a translator on the line, and we called, and it happened to be at the right time because they're like several hours removed from us. And I remember talking to the one guy in the United States, and he translated it in Polish to the publishing company. I think it's called Zayax or Zayax. So we finally got the word that we were trying to do an arrangement of this particular work. And so it's taken us a long time. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting, and I think just about a week ago we finally got the official word that we do have the rights to perform the piece.
Yeah, me and Key were really starting to sweat it out there, because if we didn't get clearance, we would have had to take the Kilar piece that we arranged and changed it all so that it wasn't Orawa anymore, but keep it all within the same count structure and the same orchestration, basically, as what we currently have, because Myron's already, done with the drill for that piece, and to go back and rewrite the entire drill would basically put us completely behind.
Because that would have been a disaster. That would have been really a real problem if we had to start over, and Key gave us this great head start, and then if we would have had to go to that point where we had to come back and go to square one, that would have been really, really difficult.
That was, I think, the biggest nail biter of the year so far.
One of the interesting things is they have agreed to pay us $1 for the arrangement. Now that's kind of a little strange because we're supposed to pay them, but if they'll pay $1, I'm just wondering how we're going to split it up.
Now, I have no idea what that's all about. I mean, usually if you do an arrangement, we pay them to use their piece. So I told Rick to just ask for a whole lot more, see if they'll pay it, just to mess with them.
Do I get 50 cents and Jim gets 50 cents, or do I need to kick in 33 cents to the Vanguard? I haven't figured that out yet.
Let's see, what would my royalty be for that? I might get a dime out of it.
Santa Clara Vanguard, we take the field for competition.
I think the color guard is probably going to be one of those elements that, by virtue of the way they're staged and the fact that we're marching 40 this year, which is something we've never done. We've usually been in the range of 32 to 36. And it's pretty amazing what 4 to 8 extra people out there with a flag or a weapon will do in terms of impact within the program.
I think that they're going to be a real tight group, you know. They're from everywhere. They're from other organizations, other drum corps, other winter guards from all parts of the country, and I think I have a good sense of just their personalities and their character and desire, and I think they're going to make that will make it for a great process and a great end.
We have specialists for both the music caption and the marching caption, but when everybody does their job to its fullest, it enhances both areas of performance.
You have to be with it. One more time, then we're going to go.
The drumline is great. The drumline, I couldn't be happier with these guys. They bring a level of dedication, I think, that is, you just don't see anywhere else in life. I mean, this is, especially these days, this activity is like about the one place where you can be real.
When they put the uniform on for the first time, they get to perform for the first time, how nervous they are, and how they, you can tell they feel all this pressure of years and years and years of tradition and whatever, but then they love it. They're just basking, like, here I am, I'm getting to do this. I love to watch that.
I think that people, when they look at drum corps and they're a novice, they may not understand all the things that are necessary, all the criteria that are needed for a member to be able to play in tone, in tune, in time, and still be in touch with the product of what's going on. For the in touch part is one of the most greatest intangibles, because it's the part where we can't objectively describe as well. It's like, if you want an audience to feel chills, the member has to first.
The competitive thing, I hope it's successful as always. But I would be satisfied on a personal level if this could be even the most artistically sound thing that we've come up with, at least in recent memory.
There's not many places I think that you can go that have this much history and tradition behind it, and we in our own way are trying to live up to that and write our own chapter in that history, and hopefully it'll be one that can be revisited from year to year with good memories. And it's not just about what music did you play and what cool drill move did you do at the end of the opener. What place did you take? I mean, ultimately, I can't tell you a single score that we took at finals. Ultimately, it's the experiences that you go through during the heavy portion of the season throughout summer that you walk off remembering.
The Santa Clara Vanguard, under the direction of Joel.
I'd like to think that what we do from year to year would make Gail Royer happy, peering down on us.